I'll tell you when we're live. We're coming up in just a second. I'm waiting for the streams. Everybody wave hello while we're coming on. We're on two Facebook channels. We're on LinkedIn. We're waiting for YouTube is always last. Oh, there we are. Okay, let's do this. Here we go. Ladies, dance with me.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, aka RadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's aka RadioRed.
Thank you very much to the voice of Ryan Treasure, who brings me live on the air every Monday. I'm aka RadioRed. Happy to be here. I've got a full house here and so happy to have everybody. It looks like there's a little bird flying on the bottom of my screen there. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to put some more lights on. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. Let's get some more lights here. Okay, that should take care of the flutter. This is Monday. Where else would I be at this time of the day? It's 5:03 p.m. Eastern Time, and I have no other place I'd rather be than here on the Creativity Show with my very special guests. I've met them in different ways from different places. They're going to introduce themselves after I have my gift for each of them. But before we start, ladies, I need you all, please, to put your hands in the shape of the letter L, and we're going to say on the count of three. Got your hands up, Maria? Maria's up, and Holly and Suzanne. Okay, and on the count of three, we're going to say hello, LLL, just like I said it at that pace. 1, 2, 3. Hello, L, L, L. Jordan, can you put them in down for a second place tie? It's a 10-way tie. They did really well. We didn't rehearse this. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener. She hasn't been feeling too well recently, but I know she listens, and I want her to know that we are thinking of her and sending her good holiday wishes. Let me just tell you that it is December 8th. Where has the year gone? The 342nd day of the 2025 year in the Gregorian calendar. I don't know if you ladies know, but we used to have the Julian calendar. Well, somebody did years ago. And Julian forgot that there was a problem with the moons and the tides. And Suzanne knows this. The first week or two of October, they didn't get their birthdays every couple of years because his calendar squished, I know, Maria, squished the beginning of October together. And along came Gregorian. I don't know whether it's before or after he became a pope. And he said to his mom, I'm going to be creative. I'm going to have something called leap year. And every fourth year, we'll add a day, and then we'll all be in sync. And everybody in October, including me, got their birthdays back, even though I wasn't alive then. But that's nice to know. There were 23 days remaining in the years. If you have anything you haven't done yet, well, for goodness sake, right after the show, get onto it. It's the 49th Monday, and nobody cares about that except me. Is anybody a Sagittarius born between November 23rd and December 22nd? Anybody here? Okay, I'll just go around, never do this, but what's the sign? Suzanne, what's your sign?
I'm a
Okay. Maria, what's your sign?
Textbook Leo.
Oh, okay. Queen of the jungle there. Holly, what's your
Diva.
sign?
I'm a Cancer.
And I'm a Libra. Oh, have we got a selection here? My goodness gracious. Okay. Ladies, I just want to tell you that today in history, in 1955, the number one song was 16 Tons by Tennessee Ernie Ford, in case anybody remembers it. In 1995, Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men were singing One Sweet Day. And in 2015, on this day, Adele's Hello was the number one song. And I always cry when I hear that. Today, actress Terry Hatcher is having her 61st birthday. Lois Lane on Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. And she was Susan Mayer on Desperate Housewives. Who can forget that? Kim Basinger is 72 today. The Bond girl, Domino Patacci, with Sean Connery in James Bond, Never Say Never Again. And she was in Tim Burton's Batman in 1989. And R.I.P., one of the greats in entertainment, Sammy Davis Jr. was born today in 1925. We'll just leave that alone. And I have a quick shout out to a young man named Xander Budnick. And why, Holly's saying, why are we doing a shout out to? I know, Holly, well, I'm going to tell you, he's 36 today and he's a YouTube star. And I wouldn't even imagine any of you could guess how many views he's had of his videos. He's had 191 million views.
Wow.
191, not a billion. I had somebody with a billion last week. He posts travel and adventure. He goes hiking, camping, canoeing, and staying overnight in the forest, sometimes in no tent at 20 below. Holly, there's an inspiration for you because I know you understand those numbers. So happy birthday to Xander. Okay, ladies, I have my opening now, and I have a little gift for each of you. So listen up when I call your name. Just smile and wave and just feel good, I hope. Okay, welcome to the Creativity Show where stories ignite. AKA RadioRed and her Scarlett Mic live streaming bright. I have enough lights on now. The Kaleidoscope of Creativity. One of you know why I picked that name for. She's blushing. Take center stage. Center stage, that's you, Suzanne, where wonder and wisdom are turning the page. Maria Roncari, wave hello. Suzanne Ann Smith, wave hello. And Holly B. Gutwillinger, say hello. They're all here sharing paths where creativity became crystal clear. I'm all choked up. With insight and passion and imagination anew, an inspiring hour we're bringing to you. And Maria, you're up first, and here's my gift for you. From Connecticut's coast, where her bright story starts, Maria grew up loving English, the stage, and the arts. Arizona to eastern states shaped her voice and her view, as entertainment's path called her boldly, Maria, Maria, and true. Her memoir, Ollie's Gift, speaks from a 9-year-old's heart in 1958 Alabama, where harsh truths tore her apart. Her father said, before you judge, remember each story, a message Maria carries in kaleidoscopic glory. She wrote plays, vaudeville shows, ceremonies of love, birthday reviews that fit like a glove. A creative with no limits, adventure as her guide, Maria teaches wisdom vintage to help children thrive with pride. Maria, welcome. I hope you enjoyed that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome very much. And Suzanne is next. From a 50-acre Texas farm where hard work shaped her days, Suzanne learned patience and purpose in sunlit cattle tending ways. Raised by educator parents with 3 sisters by her side, dinner talks on world issues helped her wisdom be amplified. Books were her playground. Anne, Nancy Drew, and more. Plays with Sister Emily opened imagination's door. As Charlotte on stage, Suzanne found her brave new voice, and debate team sharpened her. See all sides, her choice. A prodigy at 15 at Texas Academy, she thrived. Among brilliant peers, she felt she'd finally arrived. Now leading social impact architects with global heart and spark, Suzanne's social trend spotter blog lights transformation's arc. Suzanne,
Oh,
what do you
I
think?
loved it. Oh,
I'm
wonderful.
glad. I'm glad. And now Holly, from a small northern town with Ontario's winter gleams, Holly grew her art in daylight and crafted midlight dreams. Behind a wingback chair, her young imagination stirred as colors, yarns, and stories found their very first word. Marriage led her further north where mining towns stood strong. She raised her sons in remote life where creativity tagged along. Now back in her childhood home with memories warm and memories bright, Holly shares the space with Mom and crafts new tales each night. By day, Holly works in corrections, steady, skilled, and wise. Her debut novel, North of Broken and Forever Home, next Valentine Day flies, exploring women and rescue dogs with love true and strong. For every story Holly writes, she always brings a dog along. Holly?
You're gonna make me cry.
That's
That was
okay.
beautiful.
I'm glad. So gather around where the cool vibes and the cool kids sway as we dive deep into creativity today. As Radio Red's energy lights the way, we hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. So, ladies, how'd I do? Good. I got
Gosh,
some
So
hearts.
amazing.
good.
Those are my gifts to you. And that's why I no longer ask people for a media bio. I ask for an origin story. And that's what I wanted to use it for, is to give it back to you. My collaborator is named Sylvie. She's French, and we speak in English and in French. And she helps me draft these. I don't call them poems. I call them rhyming introductions. So I'm very glad that each of you have enjoyed what we wrote. So
Yes.
there you go. And I'm the final decider, and I'll tell you Sylvia's later, but you may know, and I think Suzanne knows. So let's go around the table and briefly, is there anything I left out of your story that you'd like to share with us? So Maria, I'm going to you first. I'm putting you on speaker view officially. Welcome to the Creativity Show. Maria, anything you'd
Thank you
like
so
to
much.
tell us? Go ahead. Tell us a little more.
I'm not sure that you really left anything out. I mean, again, I'm very proud of you. That was great. Um, I think when it comes to growing up, my parents, had so much to do with it, and I just feel very blessed that they never said no to anything I wanted to do. It was if you want to be a garbage person, okay, go ahead. But whatever I started, I had to finish. That was it. And to this day, I'm really happy because a lot of people don't do that any longer. But I give them a lot of credit because they never stopped me. And I did so many things because they made it possible.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Nice to give credit to our families. I've been
Yeah.
looking back. I meet so many interesting people like the three of you on this show and on my, I have 5 series right now and on my other shows, but this is the most up close and personal one. And I'm trying to think if there's anything, any lesson my parents tried to instill in me. And I can't find a specific lesson other than
Wow.
be kind and study hard and come to dinner and show up and just smile and be there. And that
Mhm.
was it. I don't think they ever said no either.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but it wasn't stated. It was just there. And yeah, anyway, wonderful family. I'm happy to meet you, Maria. Let's put
Thank you.
Suzanne and Smith up. Suzanne, tell us a little bit more about yourself, please.
Before I do, don't you like my red lipstick? I did it just for you.
I'm very flattered. I'm very honored.
Radio Red. I
It's
had to
very,
do it.
very, very, very pretty. Go ahead.
Um,
You're on speaker. Go ahead.
the other thing I would just say is I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about my students because not only have I learned a lot from other people, I stand on the shoulders of giants. I was taught, as you said, at the Texas Academy of Math and Science. I got my undergrad at UT Austin, where I now teach. And then also I went and got my MBA at Duke. And so I learned entrepreneurship and innovation and creativity from really the best of the best. But my current teachers are my students. I actually come from a long line of professors and educators, and I call them my fountain of youth because they keep me young. I think they do a good job of that. And they keep me relevant. And so I learn just as much from them as they do from me. And so just know that I'm a professor and that I love teaching, but I love hearing from other people as well.
I love that. The fountain of youth. That's very creative the way you
Mhm.
put that. It's true. It's true. And yes, I won't make any comment. We're not talking about age or ageism or youth or anything else, but very, very interesting. Specifically, what do you teach, Suzanne?
So I teach social entrepreneurship, corporate social responsibility, and ethical leadership.
What is social
Oof.
entrepreneurship? How would just a brief definition, a sentence
So,
or two?
so social entrepreneurship is thinking about social issues in a much larger way and working at the intersection of business, nonprofit, and government to really figure out how we're going to achieve large scale social change. And so it could be poverty, workforce, and it's basically taking entrepreneurship tools from the business place and bringing them into government and nonprofit.
Bravo. Thank you very much. Good to know you.
Yeah.
Okay, keep up the fight. I was going to say, keep up the good work. There we go. And Holly B. Gutwillinger. I did not meet Holly at the summit, which is where Publicity Summit. I met Suzanne and I met Maria. Holly comes to
Mhm.
me through an excellent professional contact. His name is Mickey Mickelson, and he's the owner of Creative Edge PR based in Canada. And I said, I have a gap in my panel on this show.
Mhm.
Who've you got? And he said, have I got a new author for you?
Mhm.
And Holly said, yes. And that was about 12 days ago. And
Wow.
here she is. So, Holly, delighted to meet you. And I'm putting you on speaker view. Why don't you tell us a little more and tell us what the temperature is and where you are? Go ahead.
Well, it's very cold. It's -20 without the wind chill factor. I don't know why they add that, but I
Wow.
too speak French. And I followed my husband when I was just a young mom. We had our first son and we went to the most remote places in Canada for mining, of course. And my creativity has followed me everywhere I've gone. But what I've noticed is the shift in my creativity. I used to do it for accolades, for approval. Now I can finally say I create for fun, I create for me, and for just my well-being. And so we moved back here full circle to take care of our parents, of course, and we've lost a few, but my mother lives with us and we have our dogs here. My 2 boys are grown and gone and they're off living their great lives. And yeah, I love a simple, quiet life, but creativity is definitely taking a new spin for me.
There you go. Thank you. I'm hearing a lot of family weaving in and out of what we're talking about. And Suzanne, your students sound like they're your family, your extended family. Very, very, very interesting. Thank you, ladies. Let's go to the part of the show where I have asked each of you to please send me a fictional quote from a character. Oh, Suzanne's rubbing her hands there. Okay, lady, hold on. Down, down, girl. From a movie or a TV series or a song lyric, and you're going to relate it. And I have 3 doozies from the 3 of you. You're going to relate it to your own creativity and your own words. Just a couple minutes, so we have a nice round table here. So I'm going first to Maria, and Maria has quoted Mame Dennis, played by Rosalind Russell. We are going back in time. The play and the movie were called Auntie Mame. It was a 1956 Broadway play and a 1958, Maria, I did my homework, Technorama Technicolor comedy film. There was something called Technorama. Wow. Auntie Mame is based on the 1955 novel by Edward Everett Tanner III. He went by the pseudonym Patrick Dennis. Very, very interesting. Roz Russell was a big time movie star, and she starred in the play and the film. There was a different, I'll read the quote in a second, but there were 2 versions. One was in the stage play, and they changed it slightly for the movie. But let me see here. Patrick Dennis, orphaned in 1928 when his father Edwin dies unexpectedly, is placed in care of his aunt. I'm saying that the grand way, aunt, Mame Dennis in Manhattan. She's flamboyant, she's exuberant, she loves parties, she loves free-spirited friends, and she hangs around with some drunk actresses and somebody who does nude exercises in his classes. I don't think you do that, Suzanne. We're not asking. And then there's a book publisher, and everybody is just all mixed up. And there's a bank trustee named Dwight Babcock who says, "Oh, you can't have this terrible influence on this young boy. I'm sending him to boarding school, blah, 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 blah." Anyway, it was a huge hit and a great memory. So the quote Maria has selected, here's the original quote, was "Life is a banquet, and most poor sons of bitches are starving to death." But it was changed. I'm only reading the politer one is "Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are." I guess they thought the movie audiences weren't as broad-minded as the Manhattan theater audiences. "Most poor suckers are starving to death." So, Maria, why don't you help us out here and tell us what this has to do with your creativity? Go ahead. I'm putting you back on speaker view. Go.
Well, I really like the first version better, but I thought that with, public, I better be a little less sassy. Again, it goes back to really this time, my mom, when each of my parents turned 75, I wrote a little review show for them. And, family were doing some of the numbers, and some of my professional friends were. But for each of them, I chose a musical that I loved. And for my mom, it was Auntie Mame. Everyone loved her. She could make friends in the grocery store checkout line, forever friends. But both my parents, my entire life, they were so loving and giving to everyone, and they never said no to anything that they wanted to do. And my mother, she used to, when I was having a hard time with something, we'd sit together and she'd say, "If you don't wake up dead, you might as well get on with it." So that, so that led me to believe that, that saying was something that my parents lived by. They made life a banquet, for so many people. And the thought of waking up every day and looking at life as though there was going to be a banquet table just waiting for you to take your seat there and do whatever. And it made life limitless. So that's how it affected my creativity.
I like that. That's almost an alternative, an alternate to Carpe Diem, Seize the Day, boys. Remember
Yeah.
Robin Williams
Yeah.
in Dead Poets Society
Yeah.
said that to the students.
Oh, great movie.
Carpe Diem,
Yeah.
seize the day. This is life's a banquet. Yeah. Take it.
Yeah.
See, and it to me, it's a smorgasbord, really, or a smorgasbord, however you
Mhm.
pronounce it.
It
It's
is.
do you want the dessert first? Do you want the salad? Well, maybe you'll skip that. Do you want the soup? Oh, skip the soup. The bread looks good, but who wants to waste the calories? Let's go for dessert and a great main course, and
Yeah.
let's just get our fill. I think that's the way life could be, should be, might be looked at. I think I don't know. Does anybody else agree with the smorgasbord effect? Go and take
Hmm.
your. You like that? Yeah, Maria,
Hmm.
wonderful quote. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, and thanks for the
Thanks.
look back in history. And let's see what
Yeah.
Suzanne has picked. Oh, Suzanne's picked another iconic. Oh my goodness gracious! The quote is just three words. I'll get to it in a second. It was spoken by Wesley, played by Carrie, and I'm never sure how to pronounce his last name. Elwes, Elwes, to Buttercup, played by Robin Wright in her first
Mhm.
film role. The movie, of course, The Princess Bride. 1987 fantasy, adventure, comedy film. They just put genre
Yeah.
after genre, directed by none other than Rob Reiner, my goodness gracious. The plot, a farm boy turned pirate has to rescue his true love, Princess Buttercup, from an evil prince, and he battles foes and forges alliances and proves that true love and adventure never die. And the quote is, yes, okay, I'm going to give more of it. And the cast included Mandy Patinkin, Chris Sarandon, Christopher Guest, Wallace Shawn, one of my favorite actors, Vizzini, Andre the Giant,
Oh,
Fezzik,
yeah.
Billy Crystal played Miracle Max, Carol Kane, what a quirky actress was Valerie, Peter Falk was the grandfather
Mhm.
narrating this supposed book, talking to his son, his grandson, who was in bed sick, played by Fred Savage. So the quote is three words, as you
As
wish,
you.
as you wish. That was a theme throughout the whole film. Suzanne, how'd you pick this and what does this have to do with your creativity? Go ahead.
So first I picked it because anytime I get into this movie, I'm transported. And so the most important part to me about creativity is the other person is transported to another place, another land, a new way of thinking. And so for me, I grew up watching this movie, and if I'm having a bad day or if I'm wanting to have an even better day, watching this movie transports me. And I've probably seen it so many times I can't count. With my sister Emily, who you mentioned earlier. So that's number one. And then number two, I use As You Wish as kind of a touchstone for my class, Social Entrepreneurship. And I introduced the group to kind of what that means. But essentially, as a social entrepreneur, you really want to think about the other person. So As You Wish is really creativity starts in service to someone else. And so part of what we want to do when we're solving the problems of the world is to walk in the shoes of the other person. And that starts with listening. It starts with asking really good questions. And it also leads to greater levels of creativity. So in my class, I teach innovation happens through collision. So creativity is not a lonely process, it's something that you do in community with other people. And then I also talk about transformation only happens in community. So in this movie, you see how each character plays off of each other and it creates a more innovative effect. In addition to that, you see that they're transformed through community. Each character becomes better because of the other characters push them. So to me, that's really the hallmark of creativity is working together with other people towards something even bigger than you could even imagine.
Very,
Yeah.
very interesting. And I'm reflecting briefly
That's
back to
great.
this Xander Budnick, the young man who's on YouTube who has 191 million plus views. Obviously, he's creating something that resonated with a humongous community of people who want to see that. What does that tell us, Suzanne? Tells us people want adventure, maybe
Hmm.
vicarious, right? He's
Hmm.
out there in the woods and he does some minus 20 below and he without a tent. He's got one of his videos with 10 million views and he's camping and he's hiking. People want to see that. So he's created a community of people who can experience that through him and his YouTube videos. Am I Professor Smith? Am I doing this right? Tell me.
A plus plus.
Thank you very much. Susie, Holly, you wanted to say something. Thought about it? Anything?
No, I was just a A plus plus. I mean, and actually, I think you're right. People want to live vicariously through others because who wants to go camp in a tent at -20? I can barely get from the garage to the house.
Oh, lady, you
Yeah.
said that so beautifully. Let me see if I can get, hold on. Let me see if I've got the sound effects up here. Let's see. We've got one here. Thank you very much. I have a whole collection, but I don't usually play them on the show. Thank you, Holly. That was great. Okay. Okay. Thank you for the quote, Suzanne. I appreciate that. And let's go to Holly's. And Holly has picked another absolutely classic quote. My goodness gracious. Dorothy Gale, played by Judy Garland. The Wizard
Uh,
of Oz, 1939. Classic, iconic musical fantasy film. They keep redoing it and redoing it, redoing it. It was nothing like the original. This iconic line, I'll read it in a second. It's 5 words. Is delivered at the end of the film as Dorothy clicks her ruby red slippers together, realizing that after all her extraordinary adventures in the magical land of Oz, where she longs for the most comfort, love, and familiarity are really, and I'll read that in a second. Anybody doesn't know, she's a Kansas girl named Dorothy Gale. She's swept away by a tornado, we think, by the magical land of Oz, where she journeys along the yellow brick road, da-da-da-da-da-da, seeking the wizard who can help her return. She, along the way, befriends unlikely companions, confronts a wicked witch and a good witch, and ultimately discovered the power to go home was within her all along. You had it all along, my dear. Okay, here's the quote, and I'll let Holly tell us more. There's no place like home. Oh, my goodness gracious, my goodness gracious. That is one of the cornerstones of quotes from movies. Holly, tell us what this has to do with your creativity. I think we know, but go ahead and tell us.
Well, I have been watching that movie since I was a little girl, and I've tried to get my two sons to watch it, but they're always too afraid of the monkeys. And when we moved away, I was, a young mom and a wife who was following her husband who wanted to pursue his career. So I did. But I struggled in these small towns, no family, no friends, alone. We moved back, came full circle, like I was mentioning before, and I realized that home is where you make it, which is another saying, but there's no place like home also came to light. Now, where that comes into my creativity, not, but a short few weeks ago, I was thinking about that saying and I thought, writing feels like home for me. And there's no place like home because I work full time. I do other things, but all I want to do is sit and write and sit by my fire. There's no place like home, which is in my heart, my home. I love that saying. Yeah.
That's
Best movie of all time.
Wow.
I'm going to share something with you. In 1998, I was a part-time assistant editor for a local newspaper, part of a chain of small community newspapers on Long Island, New York. And my dad had passed away about 2 years before, and my mom decided she didn't need the big house anymore, and she was putting it for sale. And I was bereft because I had grown up there, and I had all my memories on that block with those people and the school nearby, and it was my world. That was what I knew. Even though I was grown up, I still knew that world. And I said to her, "Where will my home be?" And my mom said, "Your home is wherever I am."
Aw.
Beautiful.
And I wrote an editorial for the paper on where will my home be? It'll be where my mom is. And she ended up moving to a fancy schmancy apartment building 5 minutes from where I was living at the time. And she lived to 100 years, 1 month and 15 days, and passed away basically in my arms. We kept her alive on a ventilator for another day in the hospital, but she took her last breath with me. And home was always where she was. So anyway, beautiful quote, Holly. Thank you. It just brought back that memory. And I was writing and I was trying to do some creative editorials. Interesting for a community newspaper. They were, I hate to say it, desperate for stories. And people would send in, "Oh, I've got a story. I did this and my son did this and the church did that and this person did this." And the stuff was really not well written, and the editor never edited anything. She just slapped a title on it and put it in the paper. So the point was just fill it up, and it was fine. But when I wrote my editorials with I had to get past her, of course. I was able to do a little bit of creative writing. And one of my favorite ones, Holly, was people were notorious for doing U-turns on these 4 lane streets in front of where I lived on this busy thoroughfare between village. It was nine villages, all strung together. And I wrote an editorial and it said, "No U-turn means you." Because I'd seen some really vicious U-turns in there. So I just got kind of cute with all of that, and that was kind of fun. So anyway, thank you, ladies, for the quotes. I appreciate the time you put into selecting them, and some good memories in there, some good shows, Auntie Mame and Wizard of Oz, and my goodness gracious, so many good things. And The Princess Bride, of course. What's the quote from Vizzini that people usually pick? Inconceivable. That's
Inconceivable.
on my other shows. A lot of guests pick, I do a show on technology, and guests pick Inconceivable. And I love Wallace Shawn.
Well,
Go ahead.
oh, Red, I was going to tell you, that was going to be my second one, was Wizard of Oz. I use it in all my trainings on storytelling because it's
Uh-huh.
the iconic Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. But
Yep.
the Glinda iconic line, which is "You've had the power all along, my dear. You just had to learn it for yourself," is
Yep.
Oprah's favorite movie line. So fast fact.
Really? And do you know
Mhm.
that I have it in my list of quotes? Mandy Moore did that in Rapunzel.
Mhm.
No, I thought no. I have a different quote from her. I'll read it at the end, but I thought she had voiced that one as well. Okay, let's move on before I get too confusing here. I'm going to go to your creativity statements, and I picked one from each of you, one or more. I'm going to read the statement. You don't have to find it. Don't go scrounging for it because you sent it a while ago, and I'd like you to unpack it, like they say on the news. Take a couple, 2, 3 minutes, and then I'm going to go around the table. So, Maria, I'll start with yours, and then we'll see. I love that fire behind you, Holly. That looks so nice and warm. Oh my goodness. Um, then we'll see if after Maria's done, if Suzanne and Holly have anything to say, if it resonates with you in any way. So here is the quote. This is interesting. And I will tell you, Maria, I have to find a different name for the episode of the show every week. And this is let's see, I have one more to go before the end of the year, maybe two. I think this is the 47th show this year. So I've had to come up with 47, the something of creativity. And I looked at what you had sent me, and
Mhm.
kaleidoscope is a word, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So I decided to call it the Kaleidoscope of Creativity in your honor. And I think in all of your honor. So I'm picking statement number 2 from Maria, and she says, "Having kaleidoscopic creativity has taken me on a writer's odyssey. I've written performing arts shows with curriculum, vaudeville, radio shows, love story, marriage ceremonies, reviews for each of my parents' 75th birthdays, and more. Now I'm following through with the call to action in her book, Ollie's Gift. But you say, I asked you to tell me more about it. And the guy friend you quoted, I'm not going to read it. I'd like you to tell us the story of what does kaleidoscopic creativity mean from this friend who said it to you, and he stole it from a movie. Maria, tell us all, please, and then we'll go around the table. Go ahead, Maria.
Okay, well, it happened. I think we were at a diner, and I was telling him about something I had an idea to do and was excited about it. And he just kind of sighed and he said, You know, you're so boundaryless." He said, "You're like being hanging with you is like being a front row seat with the greatest show on earth." So I gave him a smack because I thought it was an insult, but it was really from a movie. So when he explained that, he said, "You never see anything as not possible." He said, "Every time you come up with an idea or, someone says something, I can see your mind working." He said, "But you don't see any boundaries. You're boundaryless." And I decided that, looking back at everything, I guess he's right. I never did. And again, it goes back to my parents. Nothing was impossible. So I look at as having, and I'm excited to say, kaleidoscopic creativity. It's not boundaryless, it's limitless.
Mhm.
And that's the way I feel about everything I write, and pretty much everything I do.
Thank you very
So,
much. Let's go around the table. And ladies, can you have anything you want to say? Suzanne or Holly, can you
Yeah,
relate to no
I
bad? Suzanne
the
first,
the
go.
thing that I thought about, and I mentioned this to Radio Red, is my grandmother used to say that we're a patchwork quilt of everybody we've ever met.
mhm.
And so everybody's quilt looks very different. And so immediately when you brought that up, that was the thing that came to me, is that we are these just patterns and different things. And that's the beauty of who we are as individuals. So as a result, we're all going to create something different. because
my
of
dad,
our lifetime experiences.
my dad used to say, he said that before you judge them, walk a mile in their shoes. But he ended that sentence always with, everyone has a story. And that's what I kind of live by now, that everyone does have a story. And there's so many to tell. I mean, with a bazillion people in the world, think of all the stories. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Suzanne, Holly, anything you'd like to add to that about
I would.
Kaleidoscope? Yeah, go.
Yeah, I do. I love that. A kaleidoscope of creativity. I heard a saying this week, get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And so to not have boundaries and to just get comfortable with the uncomfortable. So I like that. That resonates well with me. And I think I'm going to take that statement and run
Yeah,
with it.
good.
And so thank you for
Very
bringing that
nice.
up.
See, we get inspired around here. By the way, Suzanne, that was what I was going to pick from your creativity statement for your next. So I have another one outlined, but I've been telling people for years and years before I met you and before this show that to me, each of us is a special kind of a quilt. And each square is an experience in our life that's uniquely ours, and no two quilts like a fingerprint. No two quilts are exactly alike. I've been saying that for decades and decades, so I'm happy to see that it came up in yours. It's important to know, and there's an Oscar Wilde quote somebody quoted on my show recently: "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." It- as they say in French,
I
ain't it the
love that.
truth? Ain't it the truth? There you
Yeah.
go. So I'm going to
Mhm.
pick something. Thank you, Maria. That was lovely. And and
Thanks.
also, how many of you have a kaleidoscope? Do you have a kaleidoscope you
I
look
do.
through? You
I
do?
do.
Holly, we have to get a kaleidoscope for you, dear.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell Mickey to buy one for you, Mickey, your press agent. Yeah, I have a metal one. I don't know. Somebody gave it to me as a gift, I think. It's got a little hole in the top, and you just turn it a little, and the little
Mhm.
glass, there's not a lot of space in there, but it's magnified, and the little glass pieces, the chips of different colors, move around, and every time you look, it's different. The boundary is the scope, but inside the
Is
creative,
limitless.
it's endless. Yes, it's infinite, I think, in how many
Mhm.
possibilities there are. And that's another interpretation of kaleidoscopic. It's
Mhm.
limitless and infinite, even if there is something around it guarding it. I'm going to go that direction. Okay, Suzanne, before I get too philosophical here, let's go to Suzanne, and I'm going to go to your statement number 2. You say, my grandfather was an outdoorsman. Like him, I relish being in nature. I'm sure Holly can resonate with this
Yes.
and feel my imagination is most on fire. Holly's got the fire outside. It doesn't matter how tough the problem is I'm solving. I take a break, go for a walk, and ideas come to me. Okay. Suzanne, why don't you give us a little more about this, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you guys know, I also do research. And one of the things that I think my students are most interested in is the fact that most creativity is not happening at a keyboard or happening at a desk. And so,
Mhm.
as you look at the people who are the innovators, so if you like look at Isaacson's book, The Innovators, every great idea that these innovators came up with, from Thomas Edison to Steve Jobs to Einstein, they were always stuck, and then they went out in nature and they went for a bike ride or they went for a walk, and then for whatever reason that idea finally came to them. So from the consciousness to the unconsciousness, you have that ability. So I've just always believed that if I ever get stuck, if I go out in nature and spend some time, the fresh air, the change of perspective, even just the wind kind of slowly kind of grazing my face, I will have some of the biggest eureka moments. And sometimes the thing that I need to get solved gets solved. And sometimes I come up with a brand new idea that comes to me through the interaction with nature. So it is just part of who I am. I jokingly say I'm a little bit country and I'm a little bit rock and roll. And so that little bit of country sometimes, even though I spend most of my time in urban settings, it just brings me alive. And so I love nature. And yes, I'd love, Holly, to hear your perspective on that, because obviously you're
Yeah.
in nature all the time.
Yeah. Thank you, Suzanne. Holly, thoughts?
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more because most of my ideas come to me when I'm running or more walking, running these days, but they just download and I usually have to stop and either take note on my phone, but especially when I'm out with my dogs in the woods. Incredible. The lines that come through, when I'm on those walks, I couldn't agree with you more.
There you go. Opens up the mind, opportunities, sensory experiences.
Mhm.
Maria, anything about nature for you? Anything you
Yeah,
do?
for me, it's the ocean. We used to go to the
Oh,
shore every summer, and there was this huge rock that we all took our lives in our hands when we tried to get on it. But you could sit there and it was just the way the ocean was moving and the way people were reacting to everything that was going on around them. And then if a storm was coming in, it
Mhm.
was like phenomenal. But it brought up all these images and it felt like it made you wide open,
Mhm.
that you could absorb everything that was happening. So yeah, for me, it's the ocean. Fire sign.
all the structures are gone, right? There's
Mhm.
nothing around. It's
Mhm.
just you
Nothing
and
there.
it's vast. It's vast.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much. That was lovely, Suzanne. Let me go to Holly. And Holly, I've got two statements I'm going to read, combined number 1 and number 4. I like them both. And we've got about 15 minutes left, plenty of time. So Holly says, I create wonky drawings and pluck words from my heart to make up love stories that always include a dog. And she also says, and you mentioned this in the beginning, the old version of me produced products to feel accomplished. But this new and improved version, oh, come on. How could you improve on how wonderful you were before, Holly? Come on. I'll just say refreshed version or current version, I'm complimenting you, creates for purpose and to clear my mind, no longer striving for perfection. So let's go to the wonky drawings, plucking words from your heart, and making up love stories that include a dog. Could you give us a little scenario here? I think we'd love to hear it.
Well, with this new project I'm working on, I consider it my love letter to my dogs. And the dedication will be to them, not to humans, because without them, I would have never, I would not even be sitting in this chair. So I think it all started with that poem that downloaded to me about my dog. And that's why I credit that to them. I pluck words from my heart because I always considered myself a writer from the heart. And that's how I introduced myself a few years back. I wouldn't say I was a writer, but I'd say I write from the heart, which I do. And I thought that was kind of quirky and maybe a little bit too fluffy, but I realize now that the world
Yeah.
needs a lot more love.
The
We
world
all
needs
need a
more
little bit
fluffy.
more love.
Yes,
When
it
we need
needs
more
more
fluffy and more
Yeah.
dogs.
more fluffy. Tell me about the wonky drawings. What are those all about?
Well, I'm certainly not an artist and I will never have my paintings up in a museum, but I love to draw and I'm self-taught and I keep learning. But when I used to try to do things, I'd be so hard on myself, the inner critic, self-sabotage, all that stuff. And now, I don't know, I just draw for fun and we'll see where it takes me.
There you
Never
go.
thought I'd be writing either, so here we go.
I
Yeah.
have over 300 paintings in my house, and I
Wow.
started painting because I bought an art kit on sale at Michael's when I was living in North Carolina, and I stuck it in the closet for 6 months to a year, and I discovered it one day, and I said, "What in the heck did I do? What was I thinking?" And I looked at it and I said, "Not for me," and I put it away. And a couple months later, I opened it again. I said, "Wow, there's some pencils in here, and there's some watercolors and some brushes and some paper and one little thin canvas and a book on how to do all this stuff. What if?" And before I knew it, I was doing 3 to 5 paintings every weekend. And my
Uh-huh.
kitchen was great big open kitchen with a huge center island and right across from the kitchen sink. So I can make all the mess I want on the counter and then go across and just turn the other way and clean everything up. And when I moved here to Tennessee, there were boxes and boxes and boxes. I have no idea what it cost me to move them, but I just opened boxes. There were like 20 canvases of all sizes in there. They're on the floor here. They're on walls. They're in the garage. They're in front of the TV. They're on the floor in my office. They're on 2 walls of my office. So, and I'm never going to be exhibited in a museum or gallery, Holly. But they're just, I even painted one as cold as it was. I don't have a heated, it used to be the sunroom here and it's an attachment to the house. I went out there in the bitter cold the other day and I just started making a painting. I haven't done anything all summer because it was too hot. There's no air conditioning in there either. And I felt so good. I felt so happy putting colors on a
Mhm.
canvas and using, you know what balloon kisses are? Ladies, have you ever done? You put little dots of paint, little drops of different color around a canvas, and then you take a balloon, you fill it with water just a little bit and knot it up, and then the balloon becomes almost its own way of a brush, if you will, and you just plop it into the color. If you have a layered of blue and white and yellow and green, and just
Oh,
gently,
cool.
and it makes the most gorgeous flowers. And I did
Uh-huh.
this in blue and red and black and white all over this canvas. And then I put a couple of little. I bought it's colored. Shattered glass. They make glass and they color it, and you can buy it in bags on Amazon and art sites. And I took a little tweezers and put little pink, little tiny pieces of glass that have their its old mirror, and you just drop it in. And I have to go out and see it afterwards. So, Holly, I agree. Just do it for yourself. It's just
Yep.
so much fun. Ladies, anything around the table you want to, Maria or Suzanne, anything you want to comment on Holly?
Holly, I would just tell you, I am a recovering perfectionist too. And I think one of my favorite books is The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. And it kind of
Mm-hmm.
broke me of that habit and kind of the reason behind the perfectionism. But what I teach in my class is I talk about the fact that all ideas are great ideas, not all ideas are viable ideas. And so
Ah,
teaching them the beauty of the process of the brainstorming process, and we call that diverging. And then the converging part, which is like, what idea do I now need to pursue? Like, what's the best idea for me in this moment, that is a viable idea? And so I just love where you're going with this, because I think people think creativity is just this process where you only diverge, but the reality is you've got to converge and choose a couple of things that you can then do with excellence. And so I love where you're going with that.
very
Awesome.
nicely put. Maria, anything
Yeah.
you want to say?
Yeah, whenever I look at pictures or anything, yeah, I always see something else in them, constantly. So when you were talking about that, just putting anything down, I mean, to me that I would love to look at it, you know? So yeah, that's such a great way. That is fabulous.
That is
I'll tell
beautiful. I
Who did
love
I
that?
that.
I
Did you
did
do
that.
that?
Yes, I'll
Wow.
tell you
You
how I
did?
did it. I have about 20 of these. I create an image of a person and I use the AI program Night Cafe Studio and I create an image. Then I
Wow.
print it out on a piece of film, 8.5 by 11, like we used to use in the old video machines, in school
Hmm.
when they put the, not slides, but the
Mimeograph.
film,
Yeah. Mhm.
I don't know what they call it. Anyway, clear acetate. And then I print it out and it comes out like a tracing.
Wow.
And then I run down to my art studio holding it by the edge, and it's drying as I'm going the 30 feet or 40 feet to the studio. And I take a piece of white cardstock, 12 by 12, and I lay the acetate on top of it and rub it on the back with my hand and
Wow.
transfer the tracing. Then I take glitter glue and acrylics, and I have a whole bunch of little jewels, fake jewels, plastic, and I make them into the eyes. And I have her necklace is I save candy wrappers. When you get nice candies and Dove wrappers and all that, just save them. They're gold and they're silver, some of them, and I save them and I make necklaces and all kinds of things out of those for them. And then I finish off the hair with the glitter glue with different colors, and I let it dry, and then I frame them. And I have about 20 of these, men and women, and I call these my AI enhanced art because I gave the program the the specs, the dream, the imagination of what I wanted the person to look like, and then I create what the person actually looks like coming to life from the tracing.
Very cool.
Thank you. And I just have a
That's
blast
amazing.
with these. I have a blast. I had one nearby. Sorry to lead out here. Let me see. Oh, I don't want to get anybody. I don't want to distract. We've got about 8 more minutes left. So thank you very much. And I have one. Thank you for looking at that. Well, you didn't have a choice. I showed it to you. Maria, I just want you to take 2 minutes to explain one more statement. I think the ladies will appreciate it, and I know I will. You say, I write vaudeville shows for fundraisers. When I meet the talent, I use what they're comfortable with to create their act. It works successfully every time. First all school performing arts program, small school, 300 students, were written as a vaudeville show. K to 2 students performed March of the Tin Soldiers when they sang Toyland. Interesting. I love vaudeville and old time radio shows. Just what an interesting idea. Maria, can you just give us a really, really quick overview because we have more to do, but I want to hear this. Go ahead, Maria.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard when you're working with children when they have to audition or something. You don't want to say no to anyone. And I think that's wrong. There's always something you can make happen. And the very first time I worked with a group of kids in school, the sixth graders were the oldest, and this one girl was tone deaf. She had a club foot, and she said, I don't belong anywhere. And I said, oh, that's silly. Tell me something that everyone says you do so well.
Oh,
So she told me that she is a great gift wrapper. I said, there it is. There's our skit. And I made her a 1950s mother, homemaker that was going to demonstrate how you wrap a gift, but everything would go wrong. The ribbon went away, but she kept straight as though that was the way. That child who never fit in anywhere got a standing ovation that night. And I knew that between old time radio, because you didn't have to be on camera, you could just read if it was hard to memorize, or vaudeville, that was what I wanted to use for as many kind of shows as I could write. Oh.
thank you. That is an interesting application. Talk about social architect, social impact. Suzanne, she was making an impact with these children, and I'm sure the adults. Yeah, yeah, very. That's like just putting a bunch of stuff on the table and saying, what does your mind tell you you want to do
Mm-hmm.
with it? It's like you built a collage for this girl based out of one of her skills, and you just build a character around her. Very, very interesting. We've got about 4.5 minutes left, and I want to read a couple of things to you, ladies. So I have a quote from Anne of Green Gables, chapter 19, and the chapter was called A Concert, a Catastrophe, and a Confession. And the quote is, something just flashes into your mind, so exciting, and you must out with it. If you stop to think it over, you spoil it all. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So somebody just quoted Anne of Green Gables on the show last week, and I decided to put this
Mm.
in my list. Here's the quote from Rapunzel. I had it wrong, from voiced by Mandy Moore in Tangled, 3D computer animated musical adventure fantasy comedy film. My goodness, how could they can't they just figure out what it was? Venture outside your comfort zone. The rewards are worth it. Isn't that what we're all doing? A quote from the
Mm-hmm.
Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you'll get what you need. And the Glinda, the Good Witch of the North quote, played by Billy Burke, who just had a birthday. She's been gone years, but her birthday was a couple days ago. You had the power all along, my dear. That's from The Wizard of Oz, again, 1939 film. And a little quote from David Byrne. Remember David Byrne from Talking Heads, the front man? He was a guest on a podcast called How Ideas Happen. And he said, sometimes I have just the title of a song that comes to me, and I write it down. And I go to
Mm-hmm.
myself, expand on that. I think there's something there. And I also have in my computer a whole lot of ideas that maybe have a melody, a nonsense word melody, awaiting words. But I need something to start with. It's hard to start from nothing. Nothing. I'll accumulate these very little beginnings. And when I come back, I've got something to build on. And I have a little poem I wrote. I'm part of a poetry group online, and I wrote this acrostic, and I dedicate this to my guests every week in case you didn't hear the show till the end. Suzanne, I hope this is a surprise. I wrote this on July 24th, 2024. The code word, the prompt from the moderator was write a night shift poem, and I chose to write an acrostic, NIGHTSHIFT. And I'll lean in when I read each one. I hope you'll enjoy this. Never, I dedicate this to you, ladies, never quite really at rest. It's the life of a creative. Going, gripping, gyrating, growling, groaning, growing, highs and lows flowing on a mental Mobius strip. The days are the nights, are the days again, shifting off and on, into and out of gear, hoping for unique brilliance even once. It's a calling, command, curse, roller coaster. Finding eureka, euphoria amid frustration and fears. Thus is the life of the creative.
Wow.
So
How-
That was
true.
great.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. That's my
That
thought,
was
and I
great.
dedicate that to my creatives. We've got about a minute and a half left, so I'm going to go into my closing here. We'll stick around afterwards, ladies, and we'll talk some more. So in 2014, I closed my shows with the top 10 tips for women. I was doing 2014, was I online by then? I used to be the drive time host on let's see, Mondays and Fridays on AM 1240 WGBB, AM 1240, the oldest AM station with a real studio on Long Island, New York. And I closed with the top 10 tips for women. And the number one tip I think you'll all get a kick out of this. It was 11 years before the movie, and you'll know what I'm talking about. The tip was aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. Okay. All right. I think I did that when I had at least one woman on the show. Okay, here's the closing. Life is short. Break the rules. Yep. Forgive quickly. I still haven't figured that one out yet. Kiss slowly. Definitely. Love truly. Oh, yes. Laugh uncontrollably. Ladies, laugh with me. 1, 2, 3. Suzanne, my notes are covering you. Were you laughing? Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Suzanne, don't hurt yourself. Okay, there we go. And never regret anything that made you smile. Final words. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. When I taught disco, they didn't give me a stage the first time I taught. 250 students showed up in a high school cafeteria that my partner booked me for. He got $5 an hour. I got $2.20 an hour because I was the assistant. And Maria, I told them I wanted equal pay. And they said, lady, you got to start your own class. That's all we give the assistants. And it was a Formica tabletop.
Yeah.
I'm in high heels. I'm teaching 250 people. I never felt but what legs, and everybody watched. Sing like nobody's listening. I tried not to sing tonight. And love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Let your heart regroup, regrow, settle down, and learn to love again. Money talks, chocolate sings, la. I hope that was on key. And last but not least, I stole this line from somebody years ago. Thank you for turning me on. And let's go with the closing music, and everybody wave.
On Read My Lips
Go.
Radio, producer and host,
Don't go away.
aka
We'll stick
Radio
around for a few
Red,
minutes.
invites you to eavesdrop on her live, unscripted conversations with smart, savvy, creative people
That's all
as she
you.
discovers what makes
Smart,
them
savvy,
tick,
creative.
where they find their inspiration, when creativity first became their passion,
When
and how
did
their
it?
creative process can inspire the rest of us to think out of the box. Enjoy, aka Radio Red's always lively, cool
Yes.
conversations
Yes.
with creatives.
Yes.
Oh, how those lips can talk.
Thank you very much. And thank you to our engineer getting us on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. And I've gotten us on, we're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. Ladies, wave goodbye to everybody. And
Bye.
everybody, I will see all of you on my HB2U show tomorrow.